says it should be streaming. Yep. All right. We are officially live, it looks like. There we go. Yes, sir. All right, everybody. We are live for the NBA Trade Deadline 2023. I'm Chris Potty of Woodward Sports and, of course, the Woodward Heavyweights live every day, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Also, Strictly Hip Hop, Strictly Hoop Talk, Imperial Media TV, a ton of places. But I'm here with my guy, John Polio J.
What's up, John?
Polio J, how you doing? I hope iKing pops in the chat for this. I really hope he gets a notification. I need to see him. I need to see him pop in on the live. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I need him to. That's the man. That's the homie right there. But everything is happening right now. This is the final hour of the trade deadline. This is something I've been doing for years on my own on my Instagram account, but now I'm doing it here. I go live for the final hour of the trade deadline, John. We just kind of react to everything live. What's been happening? Kevin Durant last night has kind of started the avalanche.
Oh yeah.
And ever since then, it's been on when our home team Pistons made a trade too. We'll definitely begin some thoughts about that, and it'll be open mic. We might even have some guests pop in here and there. But
Breaking news.
What do we got?
Patrick Beverley to the Magic for Mo Bamba.
Really?
Yeah. I like. You want to start with the? What do you want to even start with, man? I don't even know.
I don't want to start with that because
I like the Lakers.
I like the Lakers too, and I'm interested to see what they're doing. They're making some moves, but we got to start with the Kevin Durant thing because that's the thing I haven't gotten the chance to speak on. I know you did a quick little video last night, which was really dope. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
You did a dope video on that. Kevin Durant to the Suns for Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and every first Phoenix had to offer, which is 4 plus a swap, I believe, right?
All unprotected. Too.
All unprotected, so just completely F our future. Matt Ishbia, man, shout out to him for making moves right away from the jump and doing what every owner does is make a blockbuster trade. I knew the new owner syndrome thing was real, but I also didn't think that it was something that was going to land Kevin Durant. I just didn't think Brooklyn was going to this quickly pivot like that. Did you?
No, I was absolutely stunned. It was like, what, 12 at night or like 1 in the morning where it happened. And what shocks me is, dude, the Nets don't have any first-round picks because they traded all their first-round picks in the James Harden trade.
Yeah.
So the Rockets have swaps, I believe, until like 2025 or 2026, and they have first-round picks every other year from the Nets. So the Nets are not going to have any first-round picks for the next couple of years. Which is, I don't know, it's wild to me. They still have a decent young core. Like, I like Cam Thomas a lot. I like Mikal Bridges. I like Nick Claxton. Obviously, they have first-round picks to move now, and they're still technically a playoff team. They're 32-22, so we could still see the Nets make the playoffs. But
yeah, they'll probably be like the back-end
yeah,
play-in team.
I thought they would wait till the offseason, honestly. I can't believe this happened. I don't know if KD must have requested a trade, right? I mean, it was never made official, but he had to have requested a trade.
I mean, he did request a trade. It just was 6 months ago.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like technically, I mean, and that was the list. Phoenix was the top of his list at that time. So obviously there was interest there, especially with the owner, you know, wanting to get a new deal, a new team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what owners do every time, John. You know this in NBA history. Every time an owner acquires a team, what do they want to do? They want to clean house and make a splash. And I'm not saying those are wrong things to do, but that's just historically what owners like to do. They like to immediately put their imprint on it, just like any other business. When a new manager comes, they like to clean staff. That's one of those things. I just didn't think that it was going to be this. And I didn't think they were going to be able to pull off a deal like this. And that's where I'm at with this trade deadline, John, is like, you know, I'm a little older than you, so I grew up with like moves like Marco Bellinelli at the trade deadline and being like, holy shit, the Spurs just got Marco Bellinelli, or the Sixers got Marco Bellinelli even a few years ago, like, just to use another Marco Bellinelli reference. But like, those were the big trades, right? Like you made a trade for a rotation piece. Now, back-to-back trade deadlines. This is superstar all NBA players, some of the greatest players in the league being traded at the trade deadline. And it's unreal to me that the NBA is moving this fast. Like, player movement is happening. It's been rapidly excelling for the last decade, but now to get to a point where guys like Kevin Durant can actually be traded at the trade deadline, it's just madness to me. Yeah. The trade deadline was used to get role players. It was used to get that 8th, 9th man to really, really like solidify your team. I remember when the Pacers got Evan Turner at the trade deadline, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, Indiana, here they come." Now it's like the Suns are like Kevin Durant. It's madness, man. It's madness. It's fun, and this is what I live for. I do have a theory on Brooklyn, but regarding Phoenix, how do you think of the fit? Because I look at these things. When you make a big move like this, it takes time to gel. It takes chemistry, all that. Do you really think, talent-wise, they're a contender, but do you really think they can pull off overhauling their roster like this at the trade deadline and 5 months from now raising the trophy 4 months from now?
No, I don't. Have we ever seen, well, it's pretty new, a superstar of this magnitude getting traded at the deadline, but we've never really seen a big move pay off with a title.
The only big three to ever work the first year was the Boston Celtics in 2008.
Yeah, but that wasn't at the deadline. That was
exactly.
I feel like you need a full off season. You need a
full season just in general.
Yeah, a full season. So I don't see it happening. I do think maybe they could get to a finals just because I don't know how much you trust Denver, and Golden State looks like a mess right now. I like the fit though. If Kevin Durant wants to be there, here was my thing with the Suns. They were a very good team, but to me, you can't win an NBA championship if Chris Paul is your second scoring option.
Yeah.
I love Chris Paul, but
not right now.
Not right now at least. So now that Devin Booker's your second scoring option, that's just crazy. To me, the craziest part is they didn't even have to give up DeAndre Ayton. I thought DeAndre Ayton would be a starting point in the deal. Do you think Brooklyn just didn't have any?
Well, there was a Simmons thing. Remember with you can't have two rookies on max extensions. Yeah, so there's a rule where two rookies, you can't have two max extension rookies on the same team.
Okay.
Well, you can't trade for two of them.
That's why I didn't know.
So obviously they got Ben Simmons in the Harden trade, who was a max rookie extension. Ayton just got max extended, so they couldn't do that without moving Ben Simmons. And while I think Brooklyn definitely wants to move Ben Simmons, a whole nother part of this aspect, I think people are forgetting that he's actually on the Brooklyn Nets still, Ben Simmons. But that's why they couldn't do that trade. And I think they couldn't find a home for Ben Simmons. But now with how fast players move, I mean, honestly, any and everything is off the
Brooklyn is intriguing.
On the table.
Brooklyn is really intriguing to me because remember how when Ben Simmons was in Philly, we always said we want to see him have his own team. We wanted to see him run the show, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he kind of have that opportunity a little bit in Brooklyn now?
Now if Cam Thomas has something to say about it, Cam Thomas, man.
Well, don't you think Ben Simmons should be playing point guard?
Yes.
He's gonna be the point guard
and
now.
Controlling the ball and basically trying to do a light Giannis.
Yes, exactly. I think that's kind of exciting to see that in Brooklyn.
I'm out on Ben Simmons though.
Really?
I would have agreed with you 6 months ago, even 9 months ago. I would have definitely agreed with you. But now, here where we are, I can't sign up for Ben Simmons, the Ben Simmons experiment, man. It's too much. It's done. It's cooked.
Give him a year. You don't think he needs time?
Oliver Arnold in the chat. Durant likes Kim K. He knows the neighborhood agent. He's playing Connect. He's playing his Connect to get reach out. Chris Paul protecting homes and wrecking them simultaneously. That's an NBA All-Star. Shout out to Oliver Arnold in the chat. Everybody drop your takes in the chat of what's going on with all the trades. Right now we're talking the KD Nets trade.
There's too many to talk about.
So, there's way too many, John, and I'm definitely going to be needing your help to go through all of them. But starting with this Kevin Durant thing, I have a theory on Brooklyn, and I'm working this, so you're going to help me work through this. When it comes to and I see the Wiseman for Bay. We will get to that in a second. Michael, I do want to get to that next. But with Brooklyn Nets, with you not owning your own draft capital, you can't tank because, you're just giving the other team great assets. So you can't really do that. So the option I think, and the option I always do when I'm playing 2K, and now since the NBA has gotten more and more like 2K every year,
pretty much.
Why don't you just use Cam Johnson, use Mikal Bridges, use Spencer Dinwiddie, use Ben Simmons, use all these players, and get different draft capital from different teams? Because we're seeing Utah and OKC, right? They have the best war chest. They have all these picks. OKC has a little versatility. They got some Clippers and some why am I blanking? Houston picks. Utah just has all of Minnesota, all of Cleveland. I think the way you play the game is you dabble. You move Cam Johnson. I'm just naming random teams, but you move Cam Johnson to Indiana, get one of their first. You move Mikal Bridges to Boston, get a first from there. You move Ben Simmons to Charlotte and get a first from there. And that way, you have a diverse war chest where you have almost every offseason, you have a pick that could end up being valuable rather than tying it all to one team, because we've seen how quickly these teams rise and fall. You know what I mean? Like, look, there's rumors out there, and I don't know if you've heard them, but James Harden wants to go back to Houston. And Houston wants to do it because they don't own their draft picks. So, like, they're like, hell yeah, like, we're going to be bad next year, but if we get James Harden, we'll at least be decent, and then we're not at least giving OKC a top 5 pick. So why wouldn't we do that? Like, those are reasons why you don't want to necessarily invest totally in a team 5 years from now. That's why I found the Pistons. I want the Lakers first in 2029. I want all of their first, but just give me one of their first. Give me one in Sacramento. Let me diversify my bonds. You know what I mean? Just make sure I have a hand in every pot, and that way I don't necessarily have to rely on my own team being bad to get that lottery pick, to get that transcendent player. You can count on other teams. So that would be the way I would approach it if I'm Brooklyn. Would you do that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm really curious to see what is going to happen with these teams just collecting all these first-round picks. Because at the end of the day, the NBA it's a star-driven league, right?
Yeah.
The teams with the best players win. And to me, if a team like OKC has just a ton of first-round picks, but none of them ever hit, they never get that generational talent. Like, Chet Holmgren could be that maybe, but like Banchero, or they don't get Wemby. Like, if they just never hit the lottery, what are you going to do with all those young players you accumulate? Like,
package them.
Eventually, you're going to have to package them. But here's the thing. Whoever gets the number 1 pick, why would I trade that for for 4 quarters on the dollar?
But you trade them for the disgruntled star. You trade them for Karl Anthony. Like, OKC is getting Karl Anthony Towns this summer.
You think so?
100%. 100%. Minnesota's.
I want to talk about Minnesota.
Minnesota's fucked. We can talk about Minnesota.
I love what Minnesota did, honestly.
Nah. Oh, in the trade?
Yeah, I love Mike Conley.
They didn't get the pick. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really. It doesn't move the needle for me.
Really? I think Mike Conley makes Edwards better. He makes Gobert better. He makes Karl Anthony Towns better.
Yeah, but how much better? I don't think. Mike Conley, man, at this age, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a fine role player, but Andy's an expiring contract. So do you want to sign him again? I don't know if you necessarily want to commit to that. Let's talk about the Wiseman, because I see the chat talking about that. Michael started it first, but Ace also just popped in with it. Is Wiseman really better for this team than Saddiq Bey? So for those of you that don't know, it was a 3-team trade. So between Atlanta, Detroit, and Golden State. And so Wiseman went to Detroit. Saddiq Bey went to the Hawks, and the Warriors got 5 second-round picks, which I assume as of right now is going to end up being rerouted into something else, some type of other player. Also, the return of second-round picks, man.
I liked that.
Second-round picks, I feel like, haven't been traded in years, and now all of a sudden it's just, here's 7 first-round picks, give me a halfway decent player instead of giving up 1 first. So that's interesting. But, yeah, from a Pistons point of view, I don't like this trade at all. And that's not me even being necessarily high or low on Saddiq. It's more to do about Wiseman. You already have Jalen Duren. And I get that Wiseman is young and he's a distressed asset just like Saddiq Bey. That's fine. But I would have taken a chance on a wing because I just don't see Wiseman's future as anything other than a backup center or an overpaid starting center. Mm-hmm. And either way, I don't want to necessarily sign up for either of those because I think the backup center is the most gettable thing in the free agent market.
Yeah.
I don't think that's anything tough. But Troy Weaver and all the great moves he makes, I think one thing that's starting to show that may be an Achilles heel that may want to worry Pistons fans. He's a great GM. I'm happy he's the best GM we've had in my lifetime. I can't say that, though, because Joe Dumars did get us a ring. So, second best GM. But I'm worried that he likes to invest too much in the rotten fruit.
Oh, yes. I was about to say
Marvin Bagley, Josh Jackson. I forgot about him.
Okafor. Dennis Smith Jr.
Who else? Who's the other one? Who's the big other one I'm thinking? Oh, Kevin Knox, who's on the team now. And I like that move. But it seems to be Troy's bag to go after these people that are just not working out. And if I'm Sadiq Bey, and the whole trade deadline, before the trade deadline, I was talking about this, the idea of if I am trading Sadiq Bey, I want another distressed asset. I would have, we got one, but not one that I'm necessarily high on. Maybe you're a little bit more high on that than me. But I would have gone after a guy, even though I know he's playing bad right now, but like a Chris Duarte. Somebody that can shoot, somebody that can do, somebody that could theoretically fit better next to Cade. Because Wiseman is a center, and if you wanted a backup center, just fucking play Nerlens Noel more. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think Wiseman has a much higher ceiling than Duarte, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but how high is that ceiling if you know you have Jalen Duren? Like it's not like we don't have if the Pistons didn't have a center, I'd like this trade a lot more. But Jalen Duren's your star center of the future, and you know that Duren and Wiseman are not playing together.
No chance, you think?
I mean, they'll play minutes now because the Pistons are bad, but and they'll experiment because why not? But just stylistically, unless Duren just becomes a knockdown 3-point shooter, and I don't want him anywhere near the 3-point line. I want him dunking on everybody like he does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't necessarily like it.
I don't know how it's gonna work.
Wiseman at the 3.
And beef stew at the 4. Like they just have so many young big men now with Stewart, with Bagley. Like, how are they gonna dish out all these minutes? Like, I don't know. Sadiq Bey. I feel like he put up good stats. I wouldn't even say good stats. He was putting up good stats on a bad team. I feel like Jeff was arguing, like he's putting up 16 points a game, but it was never an efficient 16, 15 points a game. And I think we're going to see him be a lot more efficient on a much better team.
Oh, Kevin Knox is in the Golden State trade for Wiseman.
What? Who's going to play forward for us then?
Yeah, Pistons are sending Knox to the Warriors as part of a multi-team deal that brings in Wiseman. Pelicans are trading Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks to San Antonio for Josh Richardson.
I like that.
Just reading these quickly. Again, Lakers to Mo Bamba Tele.
This is wild.
30 minutes left. Did Eric Gordon go to?
Yeah, he went to the Clippers.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Oh, I saw Bones Highland to the Clippers. I like those moves for the Clippers.
Yeah, I like the Clippers, man. We were arguing about the Clippers. I told you, I think they're a sleeper bet.
Sleeper for what, man?
To get out of the
second round?
The West is wide open right now.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
It's wide open, but this Paul George and Kawhi have played 17 minutes together. You and I have never played basketball, but if we play one game and don't get subbed out, we have played as much time as Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
What, man,
and we've also seen that Paul George in particular, more so than Kawhi, but those two are at their best when the other isn't playing.
Isn't that what the Celtics do with Brown and Tatum?
I mean, yes, to an extent, but their fluidity is better. Like, their chemistry is better together, I'd say. And also, obviously, the team around them fits much, much better than the Clippers team. But the Clippers, look, I don't deny the talent on paper. But again, it comes back to the Phoenix thing. Like how much more chemistry do they have than Phoenix? Like, honestly.
They do have chemistry. Kawhi and PG have been together for years.
Yes, and they played like 17 games.
Not 17 games.
You know what I mean.
I know.
You know what I mean.
All right, we're getting off track. All right, you want to get to like Kyrie? What else could we even get to?
Yeah, we could get to because I'm waiting for some other trades.
There's so much to talk about.
Oh, Danny Green's going to Houston. Luke Kennard to the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Kennard to Grizzlies. I mean, they need a shooter.
I feel bad for the Grizzlies because honestly, like they're on the verge of getting out of the West, and then you just see Phoenix get Kevin Durant. It's like, I don't know. The Grizzlies got to do something, but I feel like they're not going to. Like, I like Luke Kennard, but that's not moving the needle.
That's what we're going to go to. OG and Fred. 12 hours ago, I would have said both of them are gone. Yeah. I'd have said both of them are gone.
They traded their first-round pick next
for
year.
Jakob Poeltl.
What? They're trying to win, right?
I guess.
Yeah, if you're trading your first-round pick.
If those rumors of 3 first-round picks are out there for OG, do that shit tomorrow. Like, do that shit yesterday. I'm sorry. OG's a good player, but 3 first rounds for that guy, for a guy who's never made an All-Star, I would do that every day of the week.
That's true.
If I'm the if I'm the Raptors. So I don't know. I don't think the Raptors have to blow it up. Obviously, you just retool. But like Fred VanVleet's an expiring contract, essentially, going to be gone this summer, or you probably don't even want to pay him, if I'm being real. So
I mean, what other options do they really have at point guard? Unless they draft someone, or they
assets. Call up Spencer Dinwiddie in Brooklyn. You know that's not a long-term thing probably.
Yeah, I would like to see Brooklyn move him and Dorian Finney-Smith, honestly. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, it can't now that they finalized the Kyrie trade.
Oh, okay. So
they were trying to not finalize it before so that they could because once a trade is finalized, then that player can't be traded for 60 days. So like so that's why like these teams will do like these trades are agreed upon but not finalized. So that way they can have time to try to find another team.
Can we get into Kyrie?
We could get into Kyrie.
Do you think it's going to work? I don't think there's no way in hell it's working.
No way in hell. I mean, they have a higher ceiling and relatively the same floor. But it's not going to work. Like they're going to be like he's obviously a better version of Spencer Dinwiddie, but at the end of the day a much better version, much more talented, but at the end of the day, I think Luka needs a Paul George. Like, he needs a guy who, yes, can handle and create, but, like, is also the big wing who can defend, who can be versatile, is totally okay with being the second option. Kyrie, I feel like even when he was Kevin Durant's teammate, felt like he was still the 1A or 1B rather than a secondary option. Yeah. So I like that Dallas did it because I think that Dallas really, after shooting all their bullets in the Kristaps and failing, they had to make a move for a star. And if you're looking at what these stars are going for, we know why Kyrie's value is limited because of all the shit that he says, does, and all of that stuff. But if you just look at the talent, what they got a steal in that trade. They gave up 1 first-round pick and 2 role players for
2 starters.
2 starters, yes, for a guy who is one of the top 15 talents in the NBA. So talent-wise, they won that trade, but logically, you and I both know they did not win that trade.
No, I like it for Brooklyn a lot.
Kyrie could be gone this summer very, very well. There's even rumors right now that he wants to go to Phoenix.
What?
Yes, there's rumors right now that he said that Brian Windhorst said don't rule out Kyrie going to Phoenix next summer.
That's crazy. So here's my question: is everything seemed to be going okay in Brooklyn? They were a top 4 seed. They had
Reggie Jackson to Charlotte, Mason Plumlee to the Clippers.
The Clippers needed a big man. But I don't know. Everything seemed to be going so well in Brooklyn. You could honestly make the case they were a move away from being a contender, at least in my opinion, because you had Claxton, obviously you had KD and Kyrie and Royce O'Neal. Like, what happened in Brooklyn? Is it like, was Brooklyn the problem, or do you think Kyrie and KD were the problem?
I definitely don't think the problem was much beyond Kyrie. I'm sorry, but Kyrie has shown this through Brooklyn, through Boston, through the end of Cleveland.
Like, the Nets were it was going well. Like, I don't understand what something happened.
I understand what, honestly, though, of all the things Kyrie has done, this is the one thing I understand the most. He wanted a contract. They didn't want to give it to him. He said, all right, I want out then. That's where this is. Okay. This isn't all the stupid stuff he was saying at the beginning of the season. This isn't any of that stuff. It's more like, I wanted a bag. You guys weren't willing to give it to me, rightfully so, might I add, for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm gonna go to a team that I think is willing to give me that bag, and that's where I think the Kyrie situation is at. But yeah, I do like Mason Plumlee to the Clippers. They need a backup. Another guy that's on them. I don't understand why this guy isn't bought right now. John Collins.
Yeah.
I was not high on him, but now I'm starting to turn the corner and flip on him just because his value seems so low.
I would love him on the Pistons.
They literally said, I don't know about that because I still don't know about the money in the timeline, but I like him as a player. If I was the Clippers, you could have easily packaged Kennard plus another wing and made the money to match John Collins.
Yeah.
And that would have been your 5. And I would have liked him a lot better than Plumlee personally.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just think he's such a buy low candidate right now. Like, why doesn't OKC or Houston just take him?
Because maybe Atlanta doesn't want to sell low on him.
I don't know. It seems like they desperately want to get rid of him. They went to his agent and said, "Look, hey buddy, we've been trying to trade you. We can't trade you. Like, hey agent, can you help with this? Like, if you can find us a home, we'll do a deal."
Does he have like I've never heard of him having like attitude problems or locker room issues.
I mean, he necessarily doesn't love playing with Trae Young.
Okay.
But I mean, then again, reports are that not a lot of people do. So I'm not ready to rule out John Collins because of that.
Yeah, there's
personally
still a ton of guys that can be moved.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he doesn't get traded.
Yeah, what is the chat saying?
Pistons could use Plumlee. I'm good on the Plumlee experiment in Detroit, even
We
though
have
that
enough
man in
center.
fantasy got me triple doubles up the wazoo.
He was nice, but
He was a nice fantasy pick. I'm not gonna lie, but
I want to go back to Wiseman, man. Like, what do you realistically think is going to happen with him? Do you think he's just going to be here for this season, play 15 minutes a game next season, and then be gone? Like, I don't even know what the plan is for him, honestly.
yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario. Honestly, I think he auditions in Detroit, and then it's like it scares me because it's a Bagley thing all over again, right? Like, the one thing about Bagley, I was fine with them returning him and like keeping him, but I look back at it and remember all the reports that came out were immediately like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with Detroit keeping Bagley, but like, did they have to pay this much?
Probably
like Troy
not.
like overpaid for Bagley. I mean, and it wasn't a great big deal. It's not going to hinder the franchise,
I think
anything
there's
like
an
that.
opt-out in
But
it, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But to have, I just see Wiseman going down that same path. To have another center, another big who's just going to do that and probably get that kind of probably play for the Marvin Bagley contract. And I don't know. I don't love it if I'm Detroit. I really don't. I don't love it long term because, again, obviously you're very invested in Jalen Duren, and I don't see a world in which they can play together more than like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
6 minutes. Like, I don't even think I want them touching the court together.
Is Wiseman's a restricted free agent after next season, right? Because what he was drafted.
He was the LaMelo draft. So, yes.
Isn't it the Sadiq draft though? 2020.
He was a LaMelo draft, whatever year LaMelo was, because LaMelo was that same draft.
Yeah, so that was the same draft as Sadiq, right?
Was-
2020, because they got Killian
believe
with
so.
the 7. That
Yeah.
is kind of wild to think about. That Troy Weaver was able to flip the number 19 pick into the number 2 pick just a couple years later.
I mean,
when
yeah,
you look
but
at it like
it's
that.
cool, but there's a reason why.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason. And I'm not saying that, like, if I'm Wiseman, I think the best scenario would have been go to Sacramento, a team that's winning, that's hungry for a center, that just needs an explosive rim runner. Like, what you could do with that would be great. I don't see it in Detroit. I don't see the fit. I don't see the opportunity for growth. And with that, puts you in a situation where what did you really get? That's why, like, the wings, there's a lot of opportunity on the wings in Detroit.
Yeah, who's gonna play the wing? Just Bojan is gonna get 40 minutes.
It's the Bojan show. It's the Jaden Ivey, the Cade when he returns next season.
I'm talking about this season.
But yeah, this season, yeah.
Livers, like, I don't know.
He loves Troy Weaver loves livers too. So keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Troy hasn't made a bad trade yet. This is the first one.
Bruce Brown.
Oh yes, that was a bad trade. Yeah, selling on Bruce Brown was stupid. Was always stupid. That man was a great role player.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've liked the trades that he does as a GM. I think he's a very good GM, especially when it comes to evaluating talent. But this is one of those ones where he's taking that bet, and we'll see. I don't know. I feel like this is very reactionary.
Well,
I don't think he planned on trading Sadiq 2 weeks ago.
I think he did. We've heard rumors for months now.
I don't know.
Yeah, what worries me about Sadiq is once you get him on a good team and he gets more open opportunities from 3, you're gonna see that 3-point percentage creep up.
He's gonna have that big game in a series where he hits 6 threes in a game 5, and you're just gonna be like, as a Piston fan, damn.
Like he's shooting like 34% from 3, I believe. Like that realistically playing with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray and having that spacing and all the attention going to those guards, that percentage should rise closer to 40, and that's kind of the exact player we wanted out of him, right? So to me, it's like,
Yeah.
was he the problem, or was him just being on a bad team and him being forced to create his own shot the problem?
I think it was that. I think it was always that with him. I'm not, again, I see him as a 7th or 8th best player on the championship team. Maybe if all goes right, depending in his career, the fifth like starter on your team. But yeah, Detroit just wasn't in a situation where it fit him. He goes to a team, even Atlanta, which is the greatest fit, but that's a team that's probably going to be in the playoffs, or at least to play in. He'll get some real experience, some real opportunity to shine there. And he's going to look damn good when, like you said, Trae Young does a pick and roll and 3 players hedge to him. And all of a sudden, Sadiq has a wide open 3 in the corner, and he's going to have a game where he hits 6 of those. And it's going to look great. That's why if I was Detroit, I was always like, I don't necessarily want to trade Sadiq because I think long-term he could be a great role player, just like I think Killian, just like I think Isaiah Stewart. I think Troy drafted 3 good players, but they just didn't fit the timeline of where the Pistons currently are.
But Sadiq Bey's only, like 23, 24? Like, he's only a couple years older than Cade. Like,
yeah.
I think he fits the timeline. It's not like he's in his prime of his career.
It's not, but like he's played a lot of basketball. I think he's very near his ceiling. Yeah. I think what needs to change is his environment, like we talked about.
Yeah.
If you're on a better team, and that's what I mean by timeline. By the time the Pistons are good,
but couldn't the Pistons be solid next year? Like, couldn't they be at least a respectable
The goal is next year to compete for the play-in, but I don't even know if that's a guarantee. It really depends on the draft. It depends on what happens in free agency. Pistons have $57 million in cap space. We'll see what they do with it. See if anything else happened. Let's see here.
What, 10 minutes?
Yeah, we got 10 minutes, but Hawks not moving Collins.
Wow. Nothing on the Raptors.
Wow.
Surprisingly. Looks like the Pistons are holding on to Burks and Bojan, surprisingly.
I thought that was gonna happen just because all the reports were that they really liked Bojan, and with Burks, there was even reports last week that they were looking at, and James Edwards reported a shot at James Edwards. He reported that contract negotiations have begun between Burks and Detroit, so I think he's one of those guys that will come back next year.
You have to have veterans at the end of the day.
Especially veteran shooters.
Yeah.
He's been up and down this year. Him being a point guard is not a great thing. But but him like as a shooter, theoretically
off the bench next to Killian
is nice. I do like that. Especially if you can get him at a decent price. I don't mind it if I'm Detroit. I don't mind keeping Bojan and Burks, and then you still have enough cap space to sign 2 solid players.
Yeah, which excites me. But I don't know. I thought if you could get a first-round pick for Burks, you'd do it. But I don't think you would have.
The market was there.
Yeah, the market for first-round picks.
The market for Bojan was there for first, but not for unprotected like they wanted. They wanted unprotected and young player.
Like, look at the Jazz. They gave up Conley, Beasley, and Vanderbilt, 3 solid NBA players, and only were able to get 1 first-round pick for them.
Yeah.
Like, I think the market teams are just valuing those picks a lot.
I'm surprised that Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, those guys haven't gotten moved.
Well, Sexton, I think, is going to be the point guard now.
Did Sexton get moved as well?
No, Sexton's still on the Jazz. The Jazz are still in the play, and they're like 500.
The Warriors are rerouting Kevin Knox to the Blazers.
Oh, I don't know. Blazers have made a couple small moves, but I don't really see the Blazers.
The Blazers are trading Gary Payton II back to the Warriors for 5 second-round picks.
5 second-round.
See, that's where those picks went.
Okay. See, I was thinking maybe I'd rather have the 5 picks.
They essentially flipped Wiseman into Gary Payton II, a guy who was on their team last year who left them in free agency.
Yeah, that doesn't do no. I like the 5 for second-round picks because there's got to be a decent chance at least one of those picks turn into something, right?
Especially when you're a team that's capped out like they are. That's the only way you're getting players is through the draft.
Would you rather have had those 5 second-round picks or James Wiseman?
And those are cheap players.
I think I would rather have the 5 picks other than Wiseman, honestly.
It's hard, bro, because he was number 2 overall, so it's not. Again, I'm out on him, but damn, it's just like 5 second-round players.
Why are you out on him?
How many second-round players actually turn into anything? You can tell me Nikola Jokic. You can tell me. You can tell me Draymond, but like
Bruce Brown.
Like, how many actually make it past 2-3 years in the NBA? Like, yeah. I'm gonna do this. I'll pull up the 2019.
You can go to every draft. And find a good player in the second round.
NBA draft, and I'm gonna look and we're gonna see. But to answer where I'm at with Wiseman, I think he clearly doesn't fit in with Golden State. I think he needs his own opportunity somewhere, and I think he needs a team with a point guard and he could just be a rim runner, and that's his ceiling. I think he's.
Is he a starter in this league one day or no?
I don't think so. I think if he is, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, if he is, he's an overpaid starter. I don't see it with him. Can he be better than Wendell Carter Jr.?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
That's your ceiling for him is Wendell Carter Jr.?
Yeah.
Wow, because he was taken 2nd overall for a reason. I mean, he has. He reminds me of Jalen Duren a little bit, honestly.
Claxton was in the 2nd round. He was the 31st pick. Yep. Cody Martin, Daniel Gafford,
Bull.
Eric Pascal, who had a brief moment in the NBA. Yeah. Bull. Jalen Horton Tucker, I guess. Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann is nice. Jalen McDaniels. So that I named 5 players of 30 picks, and this is only 4 years ago. If I go back 6 years, it's going to be like 2 players. That's what I'm saying with second-round picks. Like, really, what is the chance you actually get a guy that makes an impact in 1 year, lasts for 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Wiseman, even though I'm out on him. I'd rather have that than anything else.
Yeah, but it looks like we got 5 minutes left. Nothing much.
I guess Toronto's staying put.
Yeah, they're only a couple games out of the play-in, honestly.
Do you think that they did that to basically get Brooklyn spot because Brooklyn's falling? Not necessarily like rank-wise, but just they know that Brooklyn is a team on the way out, and they can now they kind of looked at some teams pivoting and looked at their opportunity.
Yeah, I can see because Toronto – in the second half of last year, man, they really went on a run. They were a top 5 seed in the East. And going into this year, there was a lot of reason to believe they could be a top 5 seed in the East again. And I don't know how much Jakob Poeltl really moves the needle, but they have the talent on paper to compete with the top teams in the East.
I think it's just Scotty Barnes and take the leap. Let's see what the chat's saying. So you got Oliver Arnold saying Pistons could use Plumlee. You got Woodward Sports saying West teams are just panicking right now. I did read the Plumlee thing earlier. Alvarado, I believe he's talking about Wiseman. He's going to play 38 a game, score 20 and 10, trade him for 3 firsts, and laugh to the banks. Troy at it again. I don't know about all that. Again, I can't see being high on Wiseman. I can't. Let's see what else we got here. Michael said maybe Sadiq requested to leave.
I don't see that.
Oliver Arnold again saying Claxton is about to eat. He's getting a bag. I don't necessarily believe that.
I like Claxton.
I like him a lot too, but I just don't think that like this necessarily increases his touches like that much. Because he's still going to be that guy that just gets the dump off. Like, he gets the dump off pass and he does his thing. And, you know, they didn't necessarily at the end of the day get Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a point guard, who's not necessarily a playmaker. Like, if you get a guy like Chris Paul, then you're like, okay, yeah, now Claxton's really about to eat. Somebody who wants to play the pick and roll, who wants to find the center. And there's not many point guards like that, and Brooklyn didn't get some. So, although, yes, KD and Kyrie aren't touching the ball anymore, a lot of that is going to go to Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas. Like, that's where the scoring opportunities are going to go, mostly. Claxton would just, you know, his numbers might go up a little bit, but I imagine them changing. But I like Claxton. I like Claxton a lot.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Raptors were targeting him.
I could see that. I don't know. I want to get into the Lakers, man. I feel like they are so interesting with the moves like if you look at them compared to at the start of the season, I think it's a night and day difference, the roster that they put around AD and LeBron.
Yeah.
Like,
it is.
What is their expectation this year? Can they win a playoff series, you think?
Yeah, they can. I don't even know if I'll say they will. I don't even know if saying they will is strong enough. Mm-hmm. But I like the moves that they've made. I just would have liked to see them then go all in, and if they could find another Jazz type trade where they get like for that other first 3 guys, 2 guys, then I think your Lakers are really talking business, because then all of a sudden you jump to like a full 10 squad rotation that you can actually trust in the playoffs.
I think they almost have that at this point.
They almost do. What's up, Jeff? Jeff, Friday in the morning Woodward show. Just
Jeff, you can hop in over.
Closing up on the trade deadline, talking everything. Okay. God. Wiseman thing. Talk to me about it, because I think me and you are aligned. In that.
What'd you say?
Don't necessarily love it.
No.
And I think that, again, Spencer was trying to sell us on the idea of him having a ceiling, but I think that the most gettable thing is a backup center, and Jalen Duren's already your future.
Yep.
And I don't see those two meshing well. So realistically, what do you have? What do you have in this asset? I get trading a spoiled fruit for more spoiled fruit, more rotten fruit, but this one doesn't seem to fit. The opportunity in Detroit right now is on the wings, not on the interior.
So this is my issue with it. We know what Saddiq Bey is. We know what he is. Yeah. He's probably a career, depending on the team, obviously, with Detroit. Even with Detroit, coming off your bench, 15 points per game, not the most efficient guy, and I think that's always the knock with Saddiq, but we've seen flashes. We've seen him shoot 10, 11 threes in a game. We've seen him get 50. Believe it or not, statistically, I mean, these are just the facts. He's a better defender than Wiseman. And I know you probably have a bigger sample size, and they played 2 different positions. That's the reason why Wiseman couldn't find his way in the rotation. He's not a great defender. So if you want to pitch upside to me, that's fine. But I'm getting sick of the upside argument for all these players. I already went through it with Marvin Bagley. I already went through it with keeping Killian Hayes. I believe in his upside. And he's starting to hit it right now. I believed it when you signed Knox to a cheap deal. Maybe he's got some upside in him.
Which he got rerouted by.
And he got rerouted, and now he's in Portland. So I don't want any more of these projects. I just don't. Wiseman is your backup center. That's fine. But he was so bad for the Warriors, they had to send him to the G League. And I know there was a game where he had like 30 points, and it was nice. But he's not going to get those minutes with Duren. So I don't get the trade. There's probably more that's going to come out. I'm expecting. I'm hoping. I keep checking to see if something else gets finalized. But if you're telling me it's a 1-for-1 for Saddiq Bey for Wiseman and that's it, I don't want to hear you, anybody, not you specifically, but say you're overvaluing Saddiq Bey. It's not about overvaluing. I'm looking at player to player. Yeah. It's not about saying I don't have Saddiq on a pedestal. If you compare player to player, who would you take?
I'm taking Saddiq easily.
Bingo.
Easily.
Everybody
because
should.
You know what's going to happen with Saddiq is Sadiq's going to go. He's right now in Atlanta, so it might not happen in Atlanta because Atlanta's a mess.
Right.
But he's going to find his way to a playoff team, and you're going to have a team like, say Atlanta that is in the playoffs that's playing well. In a Game 5, Trae Young is killing them.
Right.
3 players are hedging on the Trae Young pick and roll. Saddiq Bey wide open in the corner, hits 6 of those threes in a critical Game 5. That's what he's going to do. That's his future, is a role player that's going to flash moments.
Yep. Streaky shooter.
A variant of like the J.R. Smith, Kelly Oubre tree. Maybe even like a lesser extent of that, but the guy who's streaky, but he will give you that Game 5 performance that you need in a series that's critical when it's 2-2. He can do that. Wiseman, where is the opportunity for him to grow in Detroit? You already have Bagley. You have Duren. Like, how many minutes are available for him? I'd be fine if this was a team without a Duren and a Bagley, and it's like, okay, prove yourself. This is the opportunity. Like, if
you're talking to me now.
If he went to Charlotte, they're desperate for a center. Okay, that's it. Show me what you got. But if it's Detroit and it's already clear that Jalen Duren is your future, how much opportunity are you going to get to prove to yourself? And if you're just getting him to be a backup center, I think Sadiq could have got you more than that, or I think you could have taken more of it, or I think you could have found a bigger risk reward.
I would have rather have had second-round picks, or, and again, whether he goes for a first or not, I want capital if we're going to trade Sadiq at the worst. I mean, I know if it was floated around Cam Reddish, like this is the same argument I made for Cam Reddish. I'm not interested in assets that don't work out for teams and they're on the move consistently. Now, James Wiseman's only been with one team, so he hasn't been moved around. But how can you look at this trade and say, oh, yeah, this is great. You're off your bench, you're going to have Bagley at the 4, which in today's NBA, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And you're going to have now Wiseman at the 5. Like those two who are very good defenders. Marvin Bagley can't defend. Yeah. We know that. He brings some offense off the bench, but he can't defend. James Wiseman hasn't proven to be a good defender. So like, what am I?
Where's the?
I don't know. I guess how I've looked at the progression, and this is Troy Weaver. He's proven. So again, as much as you want to say you don't like the trade, this won't hurt his. I don't even want to say legacy because it's only been like a couple years, but his reputation in Detroit. I don't think this hurts it. You got to look at this trade. There's no way you look at this trade and say, love it.
This is the first time I've looked at a Troy Weaver trade, other than the Bruce Brown trade. I forgot about that when his tenure first started. But this is the first time since that trade where I've looked at it and I haven't been like, Troy, you're the man.
Right.
Like I'm starting to think this could potentially be an Achilles heel for Troy with the falling in love with these prospects that don't pan out.
Right.
And I get that idea.
Especially in a rebuild.
Especially
I get
in
it.
a rebuild. It's a move you should 100% do, but I think he's sometimes looking in the wrong places. And Wiseman, you can argue why Golden State wasn't a perfect fit, but I can also argue why if you can't make it work in Golden State with one of the greatest systems in the NBA, where can you make
Kevon
it work?
Looney has been thriving in that system.
Thriving.
Just playing, just knowing his role, being a good defender, being a good passer. Like, and this is the thing, too, and for Chuck in the chat, he says, who said Bagley is here long-term, which I actually agree with. I don't even know. Bagley could be on the move in the future. I don't know. Bay was not a starter on this team long-term. That much has played out. Players we love are going to move on. And, again, I think the contractual side of this I get because James Wiseman ain't going to command Sadiq Bey. I think Sadiq was probably in the ballpark of like 4 for 80 or whatever the number is. You're not paying him that. I wouldn't pay him that. I'm not saying I would. But I'm talking about the return, dude. Like, I don't love the return. We'll see what happens. You still have an offseason. You got money. I mean, you could still make some moves happen, but if you're going into next season with Duren and Bagley, or excuse me, not Duren, Wiseman and Bagley off your bench, like, dude, you're gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot. You're gonna have to make some moves there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have.
And we'll see. He could.
You're gonna have to have 3 Thibaults on the perimeter. Like, you're gonna have to have.
See, speaking of Thibault,
I wanted Thibault.
I wouldn't have minded Thibault because at least you know what he is.
Yeah.
You know he's gonna be an excellent defender. He can spot up, hit threes. He knows his role. He's gonna excel at it. We need someone like that. Like Wiseman, a backup center, bro. Yeah. You can go pull a backup center.
Isn't this setting up to just be another Marvin Bagley contract where Troy the next offseason extends him and it's a price that maybe is a little high. The league's like, okay, yeah, that's not bad, but who are you really competing with? That was the thing with Bagley. When Bagley signed the deal to Detroit, teams around the league weren't necessarily like that's a bad move.
No.
But they were just like, where was the market? Where was the competition? Did you have to pay this much for Bagley? Not a detrimental amount, but more than you had to. I feel like this is setting up to be that again, and it's just going to be another contract.
And the other part of this is the injury, similar to what you're saying about Bagley. Like, we know Bagley was injury-prone coming in. He's been injured. Yeah. Like, and again, not saying Bagley's a part of the future, but these are the facts. Wiseman came into the league injury-prone. That was the big scare with people. What happened last season? Missed the entire season due to a knee injury. So, and again, he's 21 years old. I'm not saying he's going to be injury-riddled his whole career, but Sadiq Bey was known as Iron Man. He didn't miss games. He's reliable. Now, consistent is another word. You're not the most consistent, but still, at least I know he's going to be there. Yeah. Wiseman, we don't even know what come on, dude, a backup center. So I am frustrated. I'm not going to sit and, throw everything in the air and say this rebuild is going to fail, but it is frustrating. That doesn't seem like enough return for me. If you want to say, Jeff, you're crazy for thinking you can get a first, I'm okay with that. Yeah. But not even what the Warriors got, I would have taken the 5 seconds. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, you could.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know.
Shout out second round picks making a return in the NBA because I swear for the last 2 years there hasn't been second round picks.
No, they were pennies.
They're just like now it's like here, take 7 first and give me like your 8th best player.
Yeah,
like they're making a return. I mean, Golden State ended up packaging those 5 seconds to get Gary Payton the second back.
Yep.
So that was a good move. Kool-Aid.
Hey, Kool-Aid.
What up?
Look at bro. We got actually Kool-Aid. You sit down, bro.
Yeah.
You sit down.
Tap it. What up, my boy?
You gotta break this down, guys.
Yeah. We got Kool-Aid in the building. Hey, while he's actually Jeff, one more quick second while he's setting up here and getting comfortable. How you feel about the KD move?
Suns, if they're healthy, they coming out the West, boy. They coming out the West.
They should.
If healthy.
But when was the last super team to win the first year?
Good point.
There is a right answer, by the way.
Well, KD. Yeah.
Oh yeah, KD. I was gonna say Boston, but I totally forgot about the KD working. And that's 2 times every summer. There's a big super team.
I'm a Debo guy.
They have the talent, no question. And Chris Paul just being a passer, Chris Paul's got to be doing backflips right now.
DeAndre is arguably your 4th best player. Tell me that ain't a situation.
That's a good situation. That's a great situation to be in. I'm with Kool-Aid, man.
I haven't got to break it down, dude. The trade.
Yeah.
Because I already expressed my thoughts. I think me and you were aligned. We'll see. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
About Sadiq Bey, Wiseman.
For Wiseman.
Oh man, you know what? This is one in which I've been talking to some people. I guess I can call them my sources. And just like last year with the Jeremy Grant trade, they stated, "Listen, this is just the smoke; it's not the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let Troy Weaver cook." On initial trade, I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. I kind of liked the trend that Sadiq Bey was on. But if Troy Weaver believed that James Wiseman presents a little bit more potential, a little bit more high ceiling, then I think this is a deal you have to do, especially if you've fallen in love with Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks.
I agree with that part of it, but the one pushback I'd offer is that there's no debate Wiseman has a higher ceiling than Bey. I think Bey is pretty close to what he's going to be, which is a solid NBA player, a rotational player. But Wiseman does have a ceiling, a higher ceiling. But how high is that ceiling actually going to be when it comes down to the fact that you have Jalen Duren already, you have Marvin Bagley already? How is the fit going to work? Like if you're telling me if he's going to a team like Charlotte that doesn't have a center, and you got LaMelo Ball who's running pick and rolls and throwing you 40 lobs a game, like. Then you're talking like then he has more of a chance of reaching that ceiling, right? Versus Detroit, you're already invested in Jalen Duren, and I think Wiseman, can he be a good backup center? Sure, he can be a decent backup center, but if I'm the Pistons, I look at this team and where they're developing. You have Isaiah Stewart, you have Jalen Duren, you have Bagley. Where there's opportunity to grow is on the wings.
Yeah,
is on the wings. And I would have looked at getting Sadiq Bey for another wing that potentially fell out of favor, fell out of love. And I know he's playing bad this year, and I've said this name throughout the live stream, is Chris Duarte. Somebody like that there's more opportunity. It's easier for that player to reach their ceiling than it is a player like Wiseman. So I'm not mad at going for the asset that's undervalued.
Yeah,
I just think they might have gone after the wrong asset.
I thought that, by going after Wiseman, I had some similar sentiments. But when you kind of get into the Troy Weaver of it all, there's a couple things here. Trading Sadiq Bey, that's not a bad trade. To start the year, that's not a bad thing. To start the year, we stated that's why he had these guys opted into their contracts. That's why they picked up their team options. Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and then they pushed the button on Cade Cunningham. That was just like, hey.
Yeah.
And we said at the beginning of the year that this was a decision-making year. This was a time where these guys are going to have to get paid soon. We have all this cap space coming up, and you realistically don't want to go into another year or two not knowing what you're going to pay these guys. So you got to know today who's going to be on the squad. So trading Sadiq Bey means he's a guy that you are not going to pay the type of money he was going to command. But as it relates to what you're saying, the assets that you're getting back, you wanted somebody that was more. You don't necessarily care that it was a project, but that it would fit or plug some of the holes that we have right now.
Right.
And that wing, defender, that wing offense, that big hole that Jeremy Grant left, yeah, that is definitely a need. But I just don't think Troy Weaver has his mindset on filling that hole that way. We do have a need with the bigs. As you see right now, we can't even play Stewart and Duran together because the bigs keep getting hurt.
Yeah.
Now, I do agree. Wiseman feels redundant with Bagley, but does that mean that Bagley becomes somebody more expendable?
He does. And you're right that Bagley isn't necessarily guaranteed to be a long-term fit, and Wiseman could prove to be more of a long-term fit. So there is that part of it. I just feel like right now the gaping hole in this team is the 3-4, the guy that can play with Cade, Ivy, and Duran. If I'm the Pistons right now, that's what I'm shopping for. And I think that you could have found something maybe a little better. Now, I know there was the Cam Reddish rumors. I'm out on Cam Reddish. I think if you can't find your way in two rotations that both desperately needed wings, I'm a little worried. But ultimately, something along those lines, a player like that, I think would have fit Detroit more. And Jeff brought up a good point too about about the extension. It's cheaper maybe to extend. Is that something about Bojan?
Whoa, did you? Yeah. From Legion Hoops, developing the Lakers and Pistons are in discussion on a trade that would send Bojan Bogdanovic to Los Angeles Lakers.
So that I'll pull up their roster. I have the trade sheet. I'll pull up their roster right now to see what kind of contracts they have to make that trade work. So we can think of the players. They have only the one pick left because they used the one pick in the trade last night to get D'Angelo, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley.
Yeah, so let me see if everything is over or if they pulled something off.
Well, at 3:00, yeah. Usually,
it was reported everywhere.
Minute. So
Real GM, NBA Central, Legion Hoops.
And how many minutes ago was it reported?
They were talking about it.
Let's see here.
It was over an hour ago, so nobody said that it went down.
It probably didn't go down. Then it probably fell through. Oh, Thomas Bryant requested a trade. That's interesting. That's why I was wondering why they traded him, because he's actually playing very well. I know the Knicks were circling Levine. That's obviously at this time now at 3:15. The trades, the dust should start to settle. Everything should be final. Overall, I didn't expect the Pistons to be that active at this deadline. I expected them to just take calls. They have players that other teams find interesting. Take those calls, see what you can get, and if there's something that fits, make that move.
Yep.
But as of right now, it looks like the only move they're making is the Wiseman move. And ultimately, are you okay with them keeping Bojan and Burks?
Definitely. Yeah, man, I'm just continuing to refresh just to see if anything is announced, because Detroit has been famous for deals getting announced well after the trade deadline in the past. And so I'm just sitting here trying to see, because they said several teams were involved, meaning the Pistons could have said, you know what, we're going to trade him. They said the Knicks, the Bucks, and the Lakers were all making a push for Bojan. Executives around the league expect the Bucks to make potentially 2 moves today. So, it looks like the Sadiq Bey for James Wiseman deal might be the only one, but hey, we're going to definitely monitor things for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. But I did want to speak to, the holes that they do have on the wing. Yeah. With Troy Weaver, and just to put you at ease, man, look, with Troy Weaver, if he doesn't see that next level, because I think that person needs to be next level. Whoever comes in and plays at 3-4 either needs to be somebody that's drafted here to be that unquestioned star, or is a player that we are signing, similar to a Jeremy Grant, that can step in right away and be that guy. Because that's where they're headed next year. When you trade a Sadiq Bey and you keep guys like Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks, who you were mentioning, that to me is signaling, especially if you don't trade them, that you are looking to augment Cade Cunningham and this squad next year to do what you started off saying you wanted to do.
Exactly.
That's compete every single night. I don't think Troy Weaver is trying to be in this position next year. This was the last year that you could do what's called eating the appetizer.
Yeah.
You were never going to get full off this year. There was no play-ins. That was at best if Cade Cunningham was healthy.
Yeah.
There was no playoffs. This was, hey, do you want to be able to go into this offseason with the most and the best assets that you can have. Highest draft pick, highest amount of cap space, highest amount of potential.
Most tradable.
Balanced roster, most tradable assets across the spectrum of the cap sheet. Whether you need a cheap player, guess what? We got good cheap players. You want a highly talented player? We got them on good friendly deals in Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. Troy Weaver has his team set up in a very, very good place to the point that, like he stated, if I trade one of my young guys, it's going to be for another young guy, which that's what wound up happening. I'm interested to see what their plan is with Wiseman. I really am. I believe that there is, we obviously know some potential and talent there, some skill there. But if the plan is off the bench, but he can be a solid contributor off the bench, then that allows Stewart and Duren to play together. That allows Duren and Wiseman to play together. Wiseman is very versatile. Very, very versatile. Can play out on the perimeter and things. So can you imagine a lineup that does have Wiseman and Duren? Or if they just decide to get silly and say, hey, Stewart, is the three falling tonight? Obviously they wouldn't do that.
Man, the
they
three hasn't been falling for Stewart recently. That's
I've
been checking them box scores are looking.
But the two,
a lot of offers, a lot of donuts in there.
For the last 2 months, man.
Yeah.
But the ability to be able to play two bigs, to be able to have a big that is going to be controllable. Sadiq Bey is going to command money. James Wiseman is a player that you might be able to sign on the low, or is a player that you don't mind, hey, if it doesn't work after we've kicked the tires, we either flip him for a draft pick or we don't have to re-sign him.
Yeah.
So it's a low risk.
It plays
deal.
into the more of the flexibility thing, which has been the MO of Detroit, or of Troy Weaver's game plan in Detroit, has been to let me create. We went from no flexibility, no ability to move, to now we have all this ability to $57 million this summer. $57 million on the books this summer. They can easily turn that into some great players, some great rotational players, and that's 2-3 pieces you can add to this team on top of what you already have, and internal growth with a young team is what you can expect. Chuck saying Noel last night was an embarrassment. If Stu or Duren get in foul trouble, or dare I say hurt, this team has no big presence. This opens up a chance for Livers to get more minutes. I agree with that, and I know you've probably been hearing this because you're way more plugged in than I am, that Troy loves Livers, and Troy believes in Livers quite a bit. And so I think he's a player that could, down the stretch, really showcase something, or really get an opportunity to showcase where he's at long term, or what he can be long term. Now that the dust has settled with this trade deadline, who are the Pistons players you're watching down this final stretch? Now that this is pretty much the roster, they're probably not going to do a buyout guy. Buyout guys usually go to contenders, so this is theoretically the roster moving forward for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it, and who are you looking at to really show something? Who's the player you have your eye on the most?
Oh, it's the rookies. It's Jaden Ivey, it's Jalen Duren. These guys have to come in next year and not have rookie starts to the season. They have to come in next year and be the guys that we see them transforming into right now. And that's solid NBA starters. And for Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey more or less has shown the ability to put forth star potential. Jalen Duren, to put forth star effort. Jalen Duren has put forth star potential. We know he's going to get there, but his polish has to come around. I want to see him work on his offensive game around the basket. I want to see him work on taking more controlled shots around the mid-range if he's going to take them. But I really want to see him get back to that, or not get back to, kind of focus extensively on, or almost exclusively on, dunking everything.
Yeah.
Throw everybody through the rim. I don't care. Be the nastiest person in the paint on both ends of the court. That's what I'm focusing on with Jalen Duren, and with Jaden Ivey. Is finding a way to be that complementary piece, ball handler, playmaker to Cade Cunningham. That's what I want to see. The playmaking and the mid-range, will that come around? He's obviously shooting well. He's shown that he can be that point guard, which is absolutely wowed me. So it's been an awesome time, man. But I think those are the two players I'm really, really keen on right now. Out of all the other guys on the roster, you pretty much know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Stewart, yeah, you
that's the player I'm watching. I really need to see. The shooting's been up and down. It's had moments. It's had low moments. I need to see Isaiah Stewart, if he can play next to Duren or not, because if he can't, then he becomes another piece that I think, okay, Detroit, as much as I like Isaiah Stewart, Detroit needs to start looking elsewhere and see if maybe there is a player that fits better. Because I definitely think Isaiah Stewart has a home in the NBA with his effort, with his energy, what he provides, his skill set. I've seen improvements to his game over this year, but that jump shot, if it doesn't get consistent, I don't know how well he can play next to Duren, and I don't know what the ceiling is of his fit. Because if he falls into you can't be on the court with Duren, then you're looking at competing with Wiseman, you're competing with Bagley, and all of a sudden you got 3 guys competing for one spot, which is the backup center. And then things can get really dicey. So I'm really watching Isaiah Stewart to see what he can do. I think Killian has shown us what he can do. I think Killian has shown the improvement that you want. So, and like you said, Ivy and Duren have shown that their potential, their promise. So it's really about Isaiah Stewart and seeing where he is and where he fits for me this final stretch for the Pistons season. But before I get you out of here and wrap up this stream, because it is past the trade deadline now, final thoughts of just across the league. The KD's Suns, the Lakers making their moves. The dust has settled now. Is there a team that jumps out to you, or even a player that jumps out to you? Wow, I was surprised that they did this or did that. Open-ended, can be anywhere.
Listen, we're on the heavyweight channel, right? And shout out to Easy, shout out Speak Easy.
Yep.
Anytime Devin Booker comes up, he already understands, bro. And this started on his pod, almost 2 years ago in Studio A. This deal was made to get Devin Booker his ring so he can come to the Detroit Pistons. That's what this is about. I'm going to continue. Hey, Devin Booker, all the overtures, the jerseys, Richard Hamilton's my favorite player. Yeah, I talk to Rip all the time. I love the Pistons. I'm driving my Woodward Dream Cruise cars. That's what this is about. Anytime something happens with the Suns, bro, I find some way to bring this thing back to my dream of Devin Booker in the Detroit Pistons uniform.
Man. That's what I want, dog. I want that. I need that. Sign me up tomorrow for that. Anytime.
Any type of way.
Man, I love it.
I need it.
I love it. I think that he definitely could, especially because theoretically speaking, like as much as Book is the guy in Phoenix, like he's gonna be the guy because he's the guy that was there for all of it. Durant is the best player. It's gonna be that Golden State thing again.
Devin Booker would be a king.
Yeah,
if he was on the Pistons.
Oh, absolutely.
He'd be king of
absolutely.
the Midwest.
That video of him watching of him saying he grew up watching the Pistons breaks my heart every time. Every time I watch it. So for him to full circle.
You said we need a wing, right?
We do. We do. We definitely do, and I definitely want that. I definitely want that to happen, man. I love that. That's the best, most optimistic way we can end this trade deadline for the Detroit Pistons. For me, Denver made some small moves, but I feel bad for Denver. Denver and Memphis looked like they had this conference, and it was really one of theirs to lose. And now, with the Suns making their trade, it's just it's tough. It's going to be very tough for them to compete with what Phoenix has to offer.
It will, man. It will. But for them to be able to pull this off and still have DeAndre Ayton, who many people thought they were on the falling outs with,
get your rings. Easy knows what's up.
They are formidable, man. Like this. Yeah. This is a squad that is balanced. It's not just a good collection of talent, but it is a good collection of balanced talent, like across the whole lineup. You can't like leave anybody.
Yeah.
Like who are you single covering? Who are you double covering? Like you literally have to make decisions on every single trip down the court on KD, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. Like what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's trippy. It's going to be fun to watch at the very least. I know that Kevin Durant is not helping his legacy at all.
Yeah.
Not one bit. I love KD.
I think he threw out his legacy years ago. You know what I mean? And I think
he stated that.
And he said F legacy. So I think he's over it as well.
Yeah. No, he stated that, man. He stated that.
But the one thing I want to say wrapping this up is that yeah, the West just got a little more open. The East got a little more open too. The East got a little more open with Brooklyn, doing the route. They're not going to be terrible because they didn't get trash pieces back, but they definitely lost Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, which is a talent drain no matter how you look at it. So
that's your whole team.
Going forward, that opens up another spot when you talk about Pistons playing next year. That's another spot that you didn't necessarily know it was going to be there, as far as the East goes, and you're projecting into the future with Detroit. So I like it I like that move for Brooklyn. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with all these assets, if they're just going to ship them out separately, if they're going to just try to compete and build around what they now have. Easy saying that, Luke Kennard to the Grizzlies.
So stuff is still being announced.
That was announced an hour ago. I just John and I talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, it was a good trade, but I wanted the Grizzlies to go all in, like Phoenix did,
especially for all of the
all of the talk, all of the everything that they bring to the table. But I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting playoff. It's going to be an interesting NBA. I don't know where it's going to go. I truly don't know. My finals pick was, before this trade deadline, it was Denver versus Boston, and now I have no clue, especially in the West, because as good as Durant and the Suns are, and that's perfect situation for Chris Paul too, man. You just gotta, at this point in Chris Paul's career, just pass the D Book and Kevin Durant. Chris Paul gonna rack up 18 assists on an off night.
Boy,
he just has to sit there. He's gonna be the king of 4 points, 14 assists.
Isaiah Thomas wish he had teams like Steph Curry and like Chris Paul, bro. He wishes.
Man, it's gonna be great to see. I'm looking forward to it. But we'll wrap it up there for the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Once again, shout out to my guys.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
Oh, of course, man. I'm glad you got to pull up and do this, because like I said, you are the Pistons guy.
I appreciate you.
You are the guy that knows the Pistons through and through, and I'm always going to talk about the Pistons whenever I can talk about the Pistons. But I want to shout out Easy and Spencer for allowing me to hop on the Woodward Heavyweights here, and we'll be going live in just about an hour and a half on Woodward Sports. So make sure you're tapping in with the heavyweights if you don't already. I'm assuming that you're here because of the heavyweights, but make sure to tune in. We'll be talking more trade deadline stuff, I imagine, reaction to KD trade and much more. I got to go prep for that show. So
if you do.
Without further ado,
stay around, because we're gonna hop over to Woodward Pistons now.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Dope.
Peace.
Appreciate you, brother. Where's Jeff at, man? Get him back, man. People are going crazy. Right now. So that can upload directly to YouTube?
Yeah. That was you just gotta make sure you're streaming to